Hello and welcome to Recharge Wrestling. We are here to plug you into the world of professional wrestling. I'm Keeney and I'm joined by Fisher.
Hello, guys.
And in this video podcast, we're going to go through the WWE Week, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT as usual. Follow us on Twitter at Recharge Wrestle and find us on YouTube. Just search Recharge Wrestling, like, subscribe. We have a lot of content on there, a lot of stuff on our Twitter as well. So get involved, and you can check this out on any podcast app as well. But before we get into the week of wrestling, we have got a little bit of news to kick us off. So
breaking news again. Last week we had this where we had 10 minutes before. It's very rare, but yes. So WWE has announced that they are, from this week, Monday night Raw is going to be TV 14 instead of PG, which has been a long time coming, and I can only see as a positive thing for the product. It means they can make edgier content. They can maybe do blood if they need to. They can do promos that aren't so maybe tightly scripted and can be a little bit looser. And matches can be, maybe Extreme Rules can be actually extreme instead of not extreme.
Well, it's interesting. It's probably links in, doesn't it, with Extreme Rules coming up to do it now.
I just wonder what big angle they've got planned on Monday. So they've suddenly sort of decided to do this. I'm expecting something big to happen on Monday where they're planning to do something. Maybe Edge returns or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to think what they could possibly have planned. Maybe that's why they're doing it now. They've got a reason for it. But
that's probably interesting. Idea, actually, Edge. That's what my first thought went. I was like, well, what have they got planned? But the Edge kind of, we assume it's Edge vignettes. It would make sense for him to come back and do something mad. Again, you can't really predict what WWE are going to do with this because it's been so long since they've not been PG that it's going to be hard to see what they do in this era. So it's different how it was back in Attitude Era.
But I mean, TV 14 is what I think is what Dynamite is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone that's listening that knows, but I'm pretty sure they're TV 14. So their product is fairly edgy for this current sort of era. It's not nothing like the Attitude Era, but for this era, it's quite edgy. And I think WWE can push the boundaries a little bit further. They do sometimes. They do have the odd bit of swearing. They have the odd sort of bit of sexual content, but there's nothing really edgy now. And this just allows them. I think promos is the main thing that will benefit, to be honest. Because you see in AEW, you've got the likes of MJF, you've got Christian recently, cutting these savage promos that WWE probably wouldn't allow. There's more swearing. There's more, obviously, like I said, blood in matches and a bit more, hardcore in terms of the wrestling. Maybe it can allow for that. And I think that can only help make WWE less stale. So, I'm all for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's... Again, it's not something that I think many people have been pushing for. It hasn't really crossed my mind at all. But
I think there's so many people have said it over the years, but I think people have given up on it. I didn't expect it, but I remember because obviously it was around 10. I don't know how many years ago exactly. At least 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago. I don't know. Yeah, it probably is 15 years ago. And people in the last few years, I've heard people say, "Oh, I wish WWE would go no PG," and then everyone's just like, "Yeah, but it's not going to happen. So what's the point?" Whereas out of nowhere, it suddenly happened. So, I agree. I hadn't thought about it really.
Interesting to see what happens. So we'll kick off chronologically with SmackDown. Week of SmackDown. It probably is worth just starting with Roman Reigns, who made a rare appearance on the show. Opened up the show with a promo where, again, they've definitely ramped up the build to Brock and Roman this week because we saw Brock on Raw, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Roman here kind of starting to get something into the match. Again, it's not been a built match at all. I know they've got the history, but it was a fairly cold announcement. I know he came back at the pay-per-view, but was it the pay-per-view or was it on a SmackDown, actually? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Brock, when Brock came back, But
it was on the
good to
SmackDown,
see-
wasn't it? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been. But I thought Reigns, it's just a shame we don't see him more often because I love seeing him every week on TV. And I think just again here, his presence, the way he talks, he just gets his character so well at the moment, Roman Reigns. He's just like, he is on. I know it's a catchphrase, but he is in like God mode. He's
Yeah,
just
it's just like you say, we were seeing it every week, and now we're not seeing it, which is a real shame. And another person who wasn't God mode, particularly here, I thought was Paul Heyman's promo here was
superb from
really,
Heyman,
really good. It really put it. What he does really well is he puts over the opponent as well as the person. So he's basically saying Brock's like incredible. Basically, he can beat anybody apart from Roman. And it's just like, it was basically saying that Roman needs to have Brock will have to have the best performance of his career. Roman will also have to have the best performance of his career to put down a pissed off Brock Lesnar for a 10 count, because it's not an ordinary match. It put over the stipulation as well of the last man standing rather than it being a normal 3 count, because it is going to be difficult for either of those men to be down for 10. Like, they don't get pinned normally.
Yeah, it is hard to imagine.
You've got to think there's going to be some big spots in that match. So I thought it was a really good promo. No Brock there, but it was on Raw, which was a bit odd, I must say. But I enjoyed. When we get to Raw, I did enjoy what Brock did on Raw. So
I actually don't mind them just not having these two interact face to face until.
No, I mean the same thing happens when they do it anyway. It's just Brock S5 and Usos normally. So.
It would just be the same.
And then interestingly, at the end of the segment, Theory comes down. I think they miscued his entrance. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, he did walk out and no one reacted to him.
The commentary said, "Oh, there's Theory," and then he came back out. I was like, did he go back and come back? It was weird. Anyway, but he basically come down and just paraded around the ring, which we were talking about. I think Krusty had it as his skid mark actually last week, saying that it's a shame that with Theory winning the Money in the Bank that he can't be doing stuff like that because there's no champion. But at least we got that this week. And he also did it to Brock as well. So it's good to see the Money in the Bank hold actually having that teased on the champion. Roman was kind of laughing at him, being like, who the hell is this guy? Which I expect Roman to do. But still, at least they had Theory there, ready. And it showed that, if whoever wins this match, Theory could potentially cash in, which is what they keep teasing. Yeah,
they do. And I think they're almost over teasing.
Oh, yeah. I said last week, it's not going to happen at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
They're teasing it too much.
I might have said last week, I fully expect him to come out at SummerSlam at the end and then take a selfie with the led down champ with the belt and the thingy or whatever. And that's what
I reckon he might go to cash in, but he'll get stopped one way or another. Maybe we'll get to it on Raw, but maybe by a certain returning superstar that took him out at the end of Raw. We'll get to that in a bit. But
I just hope it's not a failed cash in, because that would be a real. I just.
Well, this is the thing I've been saying all along. I don't like failed cash-ins, but I also can't see him cashing in, so I don't know where to go with this one. I guess we'll wait and see.
If they hadn't made it so obvious, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have him cash in here at SummerSlam with this. Again, if they hadn't mentioned it so blatantly, it's been too obvious for them to do it. So but it's good to see him interacting with Reigns, because we haven't really seen him and Reigns together. We've seen a bit of him and Brock from Elimination Chamber, which I think he showed a video of on Raw. But nice to see Theory here.
Yeah, I thought this was a useful segment in general. Probably the best thing on SmackDown, to be honest.
Hopefully we see more of Reigns in the build-up to SummerSlam. He should be on every week until SummerSlam, in my opinion. But even if he just does this every week and just does his thing. What else did we get from SmackDown? Sorry, go on.
No, it's all right. Carry on.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did get a relative shock, I guess, of Lacey Evans turning heel.
We've been saying we don't know what her character is.
I don't think they knew whether she was heel or face.
And now it's definitive. At least she has a definitive character now. And I think she suits being a heel better.
She does, but I wouldn't have minded her having to go at being a face in this, because this would have felt very different to what she was before. And I know the character's a bit different, but she's still essentially the same kind of heel she was before. So which she's just gone back to what she did before. But I mean, they advertised a really. I don't remember who the tag match was against.
It was Shayna Baszler and Shotzi.
Shayna and Shotzi.
Yeah, because I've written that down in my notes, and then I put for some reason that's a tag match, but the reason was the match was never even going to be happening, and it was just literally for Lacey to turn heel on Aaliyah.
Poor Aaliyah. Yeah.
But yeah, Lacey's promo was okay. She did her entrance 3 times because you could see it coming when she did that. When she did her entrance 3 times, I was like, okay, she's not happy here. And then she was just disgusted, and she was like, she was saying, "Do you know who I am?" She mentioned pulled pork brisket for some reason. That everyone was eating that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then she basically Aaliyah tries to stop her leaving, and then she hits her with the woman's right. So yeah, at least she's a definitive heel now. And I think we'll probably get her versus Liv Morgan sooner or later. Do you think?
Maybe.
Providing Liv obviously stays champion long enough, which I'm hoping she does.
Yeah, well, who knows with Liv? She was on this show, wasn't she? She had a interview in ring, which got interrupted by Natalya, which seems to be her first challenger. No, it's not.
It's a rematch. It's the rematch for SummerSlam.
Yeah, is it next week? Is it announced? Is it the SmackDown Liv v Natalya title match? Is that right? Am I getting that right, or is it?
No, I think she's facing Natalya this week.
But it's not a title match.
Then it's not a title match. And then the rematch with Ronda, because obviously she cashed in.
Yeah. So I know she had Ronda at SummerSlam.
But I don't think it's happened. I don't think it's a title match next week. But I could see them maybe adding Natalya in here because.
Yeah, it would make sense.
I think they're not. I don't think they're going to want Ronda to take a pin, and they can't take the title off Liv yet. Surely. So it would make sense to add Natalya in.
Bailey or someone returning at SummerSlam.
Charlotte's been rumored to be back, so. That wouldn't surprise me.
The only way it would work is if Charlotte attacked Ronda, wouldn't it? Well, I guess she could attack Liv. Yeah.
She could attack both of them. I mean, she's got beef with Ronda, and then she could want the title. So, I mean, you could work it like that. But yeah, it was. This segment was okay from Liv. She quoted John Cena saying "Never give up" at one point. And yeah, Ronda come out there, a bit of a brawl. It was
she had a match with Natalya, Ronda.
Yeah, and then Ronda had a match with Natalya, yeah. And
fairly nothing special this match.
Beat her quite quickly, yeah.
Yeah, just a standard win and a submission win. So yeah, I mean I do agree, but I think adding Natalya in might be a good idea, but I just don't know if they can. She doesn't seem credible challenger, Natalya.
Well, if she beats Liv next week somehow, some way, then she'll have a case, and I don't think they'll do. We'll get to. I think they're going to do something very similar on Raw, by the way, which they did with Carmella this week. But I can see them doing something like that, and that can add them in, and I can see it happening on Raw as well.
Yeah, I think
it's a bit copy and paste, but I think they're going to do.
They are in similar spots, aren't they, Natalya?
Yeah, and I think they're going to do the same kind of thing. One thing I loved on this show, randomly, was Happy Corbin's little cameo on it. So he come down.
On comments.
So Pat was off this week because he was selling his injury, which I loved from Money in the Bank. So Corey Graves filled in, and Corbin comes down and replaces him. And I was like, okay, this is a bit random. Why is he here? But then the match that took place was Gunther versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and obviously Pat McAfee during Nakamura's entrance goes nuts dancing on a table, and Corbin was doing it, and I was
with Corey Graves,
with Corey Graves, and I thought this is great mocking of Pat McAfee. I really liked it. He was really over, really exaggerating it to make it look ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant.
I really liked it, and then we got a follow-up match of. Sorry, it wasn't Gunther, was it? It was Ludwig.
No, it was Kaiser. Yeah.
Yeah.
It got me thinking though. I don't think obviously SummerSlam, but down the road, would they? Isn't Corey Graves available to
Well, apparently he's been cleared to compete, but yes, I don't know.
Could you do
whether
a
he actually wants to?
Shinsuke and McAfee v Corbin and Graves.
Yeah.
You could do that. That's what I thought. I was like, why are they both mocking Nakamura?
I think Corey just likes to join in with the heels, but it could lead to anything. He has been apparently cleared. I've not heard much else about that since. I don't know whether he must have asked to be cleared, surely, but I don't know what his desire is to wrestle. But yeah, I just thought this was really good work from Corbin here. And then we got Ludwig V Nakamura, obviously, really to set up Nakamura v Gunther, which we got to see in person, didn't we, on our UK tour? And we said that maybe they'll do this as a feud. Gunther won the Intercontinental title, and now they're doing it as a feud. I'd love to see this as a SummerSlam match, but I don't know if it will be. But Nakamura v Gunther. But what I really liked here as well here, what I love is the presentation of Gunther so far. I know people moan about the name change and all that, but after the match here, his punishing Ludwig for losing,
that was
really good. I really liked it. Yeah, Nakamura won with a Kinshasa quite comfortably in the end on Ludwig. Good to see Ludwig wrestle because I think this is only his second match since they've been called up. So good to see him get a bit of in-ring action. I hope they keep doing that and not just use him as a manager. But yeah, he was shouting him in German afterwards and just giving him chops. And I can watch Gunther do that all day. And I just thought this was a really good little segment to set up Gunther versus Nakamura long term down the road.
Yeah, it was. You're right. We got a fairly random, I think it's a championship contenders match, Usos and Los Lotharios.
Oh yeah.
Just a way to give
Usos a win.
Just a way to give Usos. I mean, Los Lotharios do nothing really on TV. Yeah, it was championship contenders match. Yeah, and Usos won with a 1D. I just thought I'd give it a mention.
Yeah, very good. I think it was actually the after bit that was noticeable here because Kayla. So the Street Profits come down as well, didn't they? Or do they not? No. So Kayla, the Usos cut a promo, and they basically said it wasn't their fault. The ref messed up, and then they mentioned that there's going to be a special guest referee for SummerSlam, and I was like really puzzled. And then they did more about that on Raw. But yeah, I'm confused by this, but we'll talk about it more. Who we think it could be, or whatever. What you think they're going to do with this when we get to Raw. But yeah, that was the noticeable bit I took from this segment. I think the match was there for that really. But yeah, Los Lotharios, they're great in ring, but they don't get much use out of them. Let's move on to something very entertaining. The tennis wear modeling. Yeah. What do we make of this? Because I think we all quite liked it last week, and we said let's see where it goes.
I like that Max Dupree is on main roster and on TV and getting time. I'm actually also quite happy Mason Mansour have got a purpose now because they've done nothing basically since they got called up.
Marseille
Mansour, but I don't particularly like this. I didn't enjoy this.
I find it funny, but it goes on too long.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
I'm laughing and I'm looking at the screen like, what is happening? And sometimes the commentary and Max Dupree's like promos over it, his descriptions are quite funny.
The Max Dupree is very,
and I love the work he's putting in as well. Like the website is a real website.
Yeah.
And people have been applying, and Max Dupree has been replying to them on Twitter, ripping the people applying. I love that. That fan interaction side of it is fantastic. I just, like I said last week, how is it going to translate into an in-ring thing? Because I have no idea how they're going to transition it. That's my problem.
It's another heel tag team on SmackDown. I mean,
there's no baby faces.
Other than the New Day, they don't have a face. I guess are Jinder and Shanky.
I guess they kind of are now. Yeah, because I mean, obviously Viking Raiders they turned.
Yeah.
So Los Lotharios could be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the very imbalanced I don't think
in general their roster is very heel heavy. Very heel heavy.
It is.
Even Sheamus and Co. You've got Sami Zayn.
That's another team you could have. Yeah.
Gunther, Sami Zayn, obviously the Bloodline. Like there's so many heels on the men's side, and not many baby faces at all. You know, I spoke about before this supposed list of Ricochet being the number 2 babyface on SmackDown shows that there's not many babyfaces. They've
probably only got about 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because they don't have anybody else. So yeah, you're right. It's very interesting. to see. I'm just intrigued to see what they do with it. Speaking of the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the tag division, we saw them beat Jinder and Shanky in a fairly straightforward win. Pretty dominant. And then the New Day attempted to get Retribution. Got
their asses kicked again.
Yeah, and then the Viking Raiders.
The Viking Raiders are dominating this at the moment. They haven't actually had a match yet, but they've just beaten them up every week. And the Viking Raiders are looking good in the process, to be fair. But I do want to see it kind of progress now to an in-ring.
This is a better use of the Viking Raiders.
100%.
It is still just the Viking Raiders. They've been, pushed down so much since in the last couple of years. It's hard to change them too much. I preferred it their heel. I think they actually work better as heels. I think Cross said last week, their in-ring style and their look does work better.
Their look 100%. Yeah.
But they're still Vikings. The character doesn't change really. The characters haven't changed. They're just a bit more aggressive. That's kind of it. And they have shields now. But it's better off. But I just wish they hadn't been defined down so much.
Yeah, that is the problem.
And again, with the SmackDown side, did you need to turn them heel? Like I said, I think they're better heel, so it's not necessarily a criticism. It's just there's got to be someone backstage with a list of heels and faces on SmackDown, and
that does exist, and
I
think they're very heel heavy at the moment.
It's that good to think.
I did miss out Nakamura, and obviously Rick Boogs when he's back is a face tag team. But other than that, there's very few. It's very thin on the ground.
Yeah.
I think there was one more little segment to mention before we talk about the main event stuff, which I know we're both keen to talk about for the wrong reasons, really. But there was a theory interview where says he'd like to cash in on Brock after the way he treated him, which I thought was a good callback, and they did it again on Raw.
Yeah.
And also acknowledge Roman, But then, interestingly, Madcap Moss said he'd love to shove the briefcase down his throat. I don't think that's leading to anything. But
I think it's got a match this week, haven't they, on SmackDown?
Yeah. But based on the big angle we saw on Raw, I don't think it's going to go anywhere further than that. But I thought it might. I thought, maybe they're going to put Moss into a real position against Theory here. Maybe they do a match for the briefcase.
Pushed him fairly. He was in Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
He beat
Corbin. They have.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just good to be in the mix with Theory, I guess. If you're Madcap Boss, it's showing that they like you.
Yeah, it is. And I think they have shown they like him. Should we get to the main event stuff then? Because I know we both have skid marks here for different reasons. Almost,
yeah, this is a double skid mark.
It's a double skid mark for two. It's two different parts of the segment.
Well, you start.
Yeah, for me, it's the overall booking of this segment. So this was this was the end of SmackDown, and it ruined the show a little bit for me because I thought, do you know what? I thought I enjoyed the Gunther stuff. Like I said, I enjoyed the Roman stuff. The Maximum Male Model stuff is what it is. The other stuff was okay. And I thought, this show's just whizzed by. It's all right. Mm. And then they built it up from the start. They announced on Twitter, number one contender match. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, who've had some good banger matches. They're finally going to have their sort of blow-off match. Number one contender for Clash at the Castle. Let's go. That sounds good. They bring it up throughout the show. Drew does a promo as well earlier on in the evening. So you think, okay, they're making this a big deal. Gets out there and Sheamus starts coughing. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
What are they doing here? So Sheamus starts coughing and says he can't compete because he might have a touch of the COVIDs. I was like, come on. Don't use COVID as a thing here anyway. And such an obvious, blatant, stupid angle. So he sends Butch in to replace him. And I thought something was up because there was only about 6 minutes of the show left when this started. And I was like, this ain't going to be a banger match between Sheamus and Finger. And I thought Drew and Pete Dunne as well could be an amazing match. But no, they kind of make it very short. Drew does the Glasgow Kiss, gets the Claymore in, and then wins it. And they're not having the match yet. So I don't know when they're going to do the match, but it's made me not care now because I cared about this match until now. And now I don't care. And I know what happened afterwards and all of you. So over to you.
Well, first off, I completely agree with you. That that was enough to be a skid mark. Like that's a skid mark already. Like it's a terrible. To build you up all night to then not deliver is terrible, and build your whole show around this main event and then not do anything with it is terrible. And to then, okay, he won straightforward, and it's been an issue, and I've probably mentioned it on the pod before, but Drew McIntyre's sword, I mean, what the hell is going on with this thing? Like, why is a wrestler carrying a sword? And a babyface is carrying a sword to the ring. He's swinging it around, trying to chop people's heads off. I know he did it.
TV 14 now.
What? Yeah.
So it's TV 14 now.
And what's annoying about this? So at the end of the match, Sheamus gets on the ropes, on the apron, and then he cuts the rope, and then Sheamus jumps down, and that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
But he did this at, was it Mania? He did this at Drew with Corbin.
I think it might have been
the exact same spot he's done this. So the wow, if there is a shock factor of this, which I don't think there particularly is, cutting a rope in half, but it's not a particular shock factor. The shock factor is already gone because we saw it less than 6 months ago. And why is your top babyface trying to murder people on the show? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just bonkers.
I agree with all of it, and this whole thing, this whole main event segment was a complete mess. Complete mess.
Drew would be 10 times better off without a sword. Keep him exactly how he is.
He really doesn't need it.
Don't give him the sword. He doesn't need it at all.
I don't even mind him bringing it to the ring as part of his entrance, because people do that. Shotzi.
If he's going to stab it in on the ramp and walk down, fine.
That's cool. But
it's a bit pointless, really. But fine, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. But I don't like him using it as a weapon.
But to have a sword, I mean, honestly, we're not far off someone bringing a gun to the ring at this point. Like, I just don't get why you're bringing weapons to the ring. Like, not just weapons like a steel chair. You're bringing swords which can literally cut people in half. It's just, bonkers. I just don't understand it. And when you think back to Drew in his peak during the COVID era with no fans, he didn't have a sword. He was just himself. He's pretty much the same character, just without a sword. And I know it was a different time and different people were there and weren't there, so it's difficult to compare apples for apples. But I just think, take his sword away, people would take him more seriously. I just think he'd be better off. So the fact that they repeated a spot from WrestleMania, a spot which for me didn't really work at WrestleMania. I don't know about you, but I don't think the sword cutting a rope in half is particularly exciting.
No, yeah, I don't care. It doesn't wow me. It doesn't bother. I just think whatever. It's not just kind of pointless.
I just think it takes away from Drew.
And like I say, the face doing it, it's a bit weird.
I'm just I mean, Drew McIntyre's like pretty much best wrestler on SmackDown apart from Roman, but people that are there every time. Anyway, so a double skid mark on the second. I think that's a Recharge Wrestling first.
I think we've had the same skid marks before, but not from like the
different
same
reasons.
For different reasons on the same segment. I don't think that's happened before.
Yeah, so
but yeah, let's move on to Raw.
And we've mentioned Roman. Let's mention Brock. What did you make of his return to Monday Night Raw?
I thought it was odd that he was going on Raw and not SmackDown, considering he's challenging for the SmackDown. Well, it's right. Both titles, but Roman was never going to be on Raw. So I thought that was odd to get that out of the way. But what I did like was the segment, which obviously he cuts a little babyface promo. Kept talking about hogs and how they get slaughtered, and that Roman, he basically called Roman one. And he also swore and said he's going to get a shit kicking. That's what he said, which said to bleep out. So again, don't have to do that next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman comes out again. Good with Paul Heyman, you're always going to get a good promo. Quite generic, wasn't really anything out of the ordinary from what we'd expect from the two. But then, what I liked was Theory came out and said no matter what happens at SummerSlam, he's going to be called the youngest ever Universal Champion. Shows the footage of Brock destroying him from Elimination Chamber, which I'm glad they called back on things from months ago. This wasn't last week on Raw when they do that. This was something 6 months ago.
Off a pod. Yeah, it was a pretty big spot.
This was 6 months ago. I'm glad they go back to things like that, because too often they don't. I'm glad they didn't ignore that. And then weirdly, he sort of sends out Alpha Academy because they were teaming with him last week, which I thought was a good people to send out, because Brock F5'd Otis for the announce table, which is always going to look amazing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, to pick up Otis like that. I mean, yeah, this was brilliant. I feel a bit sorry for Alpha Academy because their role currently is just to be the tag team behind a heel who's in the storyline.
Yeah,
they did it with Kevin Owens with Ezekiel.
Yeah.
They don't really have their own storylines going on.
No, and Gable just loses and gets pinned all the time.
Which I guess is fine. I mean, I guess if you're not going to be in a storyline, at least they're being on TV regularly. So, you know, it's. I feel sorry for them, but also they're actually not in bad positions. Maybe I think that maybe they're doing fine, but you must see them in a storyline because they're brilliant together. But yeah, perfect people to Brock to destroy. Smashing them with
particularly the Otis thing, because he's of the size of Otis. It looked cool, you know.
Yeah, to get Otis up on your shoulders. I don't care if you are Brock Lesnar. That's still impressive stuff. Yeah, brilliant segment. And then we mentioned again briefly earlier the women's situation on SmackDown being similar to Raw.
Yeah.
And we got Becky Lynch come out and demand a title match at SummerSlam, which is fair enough. She has, she beat.
She hasn't actually had a one-on-one rematch yet, so I do understand.
Asuka last week cleanly in a no DQ match. And then obviously we got Belair and Carmella come down, and they had a match. So again, do we think we're getting a triple threat match here at SummerSlam?
That would make total sense because Carmella actually wins the match here, but it's a crap finish. What we're saying is this match was excellent, but the finish was crap.
Yeah, Belair.
Because actually, I think the match was better than their match at the pay-per-view. There was a spot in this match that was amazing, where Belair was going to hit the KOD, and Carmella kind of face busted her from a counter.
I've
seen that before. Carmella had a really good showing here. I thought she showed off how good she can be in this match, and held her own in there with Bianca. There was a great midair catch as well by Bianca at one point when Carmella jumped. But there was some really, really good stuff. But the finish made Bianca look really stupid because Becky just back to there. She was arguing with her, and then she was like, you got counted out, and it's dumb babyface syndrome, which drives everyone mad. I just think it's, especially when it's your champion. I don't mind with the lower card wrestlers, but don't get Bianca Belair counted out because she get wound up. It's just, and then Carmella was lifting the belt up, which suggests to me she's not done with this yet. And to me, a triple threat makes sense because you can have Carmella take the pin.
Yeah, I guess it'd just be a bit weird to have both triple threats. Maybe they don't for Ronda.
They might not for the SmackDown one. I think the Raw one definitely is going to be. The SmackDown one, I'm not sure. They could even do a 4-way or something different to make it distinguish a difference and add Charlotte and Natalya. I could see that happening. If Charlotte returns before SummerSlam, which is rumoured. So she's been gone a long time, considering she only went to get married, and Andrade's come back in AEW.
Since Mania, she's been gone. No. She defended at Mania, didn't she? It was the pay-per-view after Mania she lost it.
It was the pay-per-view after Mania she lost it, and she's been gone since then. So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrade's been back a fair while, hasn't he? Her husband, so in AEW. So you'd think she'd be back soon.
Yeah, but I guess you don't want to bring her back. You want to bring her back for a reason. You're not going to bring her back for the sake of bringing her back. She's a big star.
SummerSlam feels like the big show to do it.
It does. Another match we have at SummerSlam is Logan Paul and The Miz, which got a bit more build on the show with a bit of Miz TV with Ciampa.
Ciampa actually spoke on this role, which was nice.
Yeah, it's nice to hear from a Ciampa. Again, I said this last week, it's such a combination I never thought I'd ever see. But here we go. Miz and Ciampa are apparently a duo. Interesting. I feel like Miz's character works best when he's got someone next to him.
Yeah.
You think back to all of his duos and.
Yeah, I mean, even him and Maurice, obviously. Even I love the Miz Taraj with Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. I follow my work really well. There was. He's always had Sandow. He's had
John
loads of people. Obviously, John Morrison.
What was his name? The Alex Riley. Remember him?
Oh God, yeah.
Another one he had. Yeah, he's always had someone by his side. Someone pretty much always inferior to him as well. Basically, you could argue Morrison, but really Morrison was the second in command. Yeah. He's always had someone inferior behind you, and I think that's where he works best. And WWE know that, because I think actually without anyone with him, he gets a bit lost. I think he's got a bit lost recently.
Sometimes he does, yeah.
He's got some direction here. I mean, this Miz TV was interrupted by AJ and Ezekiel. I mean, do you know what's happened with Kevin Owens? Because he's been gone for a while.
No, I know he's injured.
He's injured.
He had that injury.
Seems to have moved on from him.
Well, because Ezekiel and KO were meant to have Money in the Bank qualifier, weren't they? And then they had to rearrange it, and then the match never happened. And KO's been having a minor injury. I love it because Raws have been in Texas, and obviously he had the thing with Stone Cold about hating Texas, and KO's just been tweeting like, "I'm not there because I hate Texas and I'm not coming." Whereas, he's playing into that. But obviously, it's because he's had a minor injury, and I'm missing him on the show. And Ezekiel feels a bit weird. He didn't need. I don't know why Ezekiel came out here. It was so random.
Just so they have a tag match on.
And I have to say, on this Raw, it was random tag match city. There was just random tag matches appearing for no reason.
There was, yeah.
There was a few of them, and I did note that. One thing I liked in the Ciampa bit, because obviously AJ Styles comes out, starts talking. He does the normal thing they're talking about title balls, and I love Ciampa covering Mrs. Ears. That bit was good. But yeah, I don't know why they had a random tag match. It was a bit out of nowhere. Ciampa looked good in it. Ezekiel looked all right in it as well. It ended, obviously, again here, the finish was crap. The match itself was all right. The finish was crap. I hate these finishes where you get DQ'd for beating someone up too much. I hate that.
Oh, I know. It's ridiculous.
Which is basically what Ciampa did. He come in and started punching AJ in the face, and he got DQ'd. So stupid.
Yeah.
There was a 4-1 to the outside afterwards by AJ, and then Logan Paul appeared randomly later on and basically called out Miz for SummerSlam. And he said he's going to be on Raw next week. Do you think we're going to get a tag match at SummerSlam? AJ and Logan Paul? Miz and Ciampa? It could be a tag match. I think it's more likely to be a one-on-one match, but...
Is Logan Paul ready for a one-on-one match?
That is a good question.
Because AJ is not a bad partner to be with if you're going to be in a tag match.
You could do a tag match, but I think we'll get to another storyline in a minute. But I think they're going to do another sort of thrown together tag match on SummerSlam, a bigger one than this. So I feel like this would just feel a bit. I think a one-on-one match for Logan Paul versus The Miz feels more.
Yeah, maybe you just have Ciampa and AJ. And
I think you can have Ciampa. Yeah, Ciampa outside getting involved. Whether AJ's that, I don't know what AJ would be doing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen much AJ Logan Paul interaction, but Logan Paul's here next week. I'm expecting Logan Paul to be in the ring, AJ and Ciampa to surround the ring. Miz and Ciampa to surrounding, and AJ comes out to make the save, and maybe that's where we get the tag match.
Yeah,
that's kind of how
I don't know if you saw it, but
there
was I saw it on Twitter on Raw Talk. Miz and Ciampa cut a promo, and Ciampa there cut such a good promo that was going around on the internet because people were like, Ciampa's so good, and his promo was so, honestly, it was so good. And they had matching, I don't know if they had them in the ring here, but they had matching, I don't think they did. They had a t-shirt. They had like a matching t-shirt thing. They were called Awesome Champs or something like that. It's Ciampa.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird, but yeah, it seems like they're going in on this team. So maybe there's more to it. I mean, at least it's getting Ciampa doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
Ciampa's a bit random, but it's not what I'd expect for him, but and talking about that random tag match that I can see happening. So this is where, so we had Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio on the show, first match on the show. This was much better booking for the Judgment Day, and for in particular Finn Balor. Yeah, I thought, because first of all they cut a promo. They're trying to persuade Dominic to join Judgment Day. But what the key thing as well is they mentioned there's a show at Madison Square Garden in a couple of weeks. And it is 20 years since Rey Mysterio. It feels like we're getting all these people. We had Cena not long ago, Orton not long ago, and now Rey Mysterio's 20th anniversary. It's because they all came in around the same time.
Yeah, they did.
Rey, must be Lesnar soon as well. Because he's from that era. But yeah, 20 years of Rey Mysterio. So I think we're going to get some sort of celebration on that show where we'll get a Rey celebration. Judgment Day are going to beat them down. And that is, I think, where you're going to get Edge return. and you're going to do Edge and Rey Mysterio, who are obviously have a lot of history, versus the Judgment Day at SummerSlam. That's what I think we're getting. Because for me, Dominic doesn't need to be in the match, and it feeds more into the storyline that he should not be with Rey. Because if he's not tagging with him and he's just on the outside, you could have him cost Rey the match, or you could have him be annoyed that he's not in the match. So you can further the storyline. I think that's a really, really sensible thing to do, because I think at first I thought we were going to get Edge versus Balor one-on-one, but I think Edge versus Balor one-on-one, although it's a good match, Balor's not been built enough for me to think he's going to have a chance against Edge, a returning Edge.
And for me, Edge v Priest is where the bigger feud would be. Like Edge would have more beef with Priest.
You could do that. But even that, I think the tag match involving Rey, Edge and Rey versus Judgment Day as a team, I think that is a really good match.
Yeah, that is good.
And I think as well,
I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, I think that's what it's leading to. Because Edge is, we've seen these vignettes. They've been slightly different each time, but it's definitely Edge. It 100% is Edge. I can tell now. Now I've seen it 3 or 4 times. I can tell it's Edge. So Edge, they're not going to do that for too many weeks, I don't think. They're going to bring him back, I reckon, at this MSG, because Madison Square Garden's a big show. So I reckon they'll do a match there. Maybe they'll do Priest versus Rey or something like that. Or they'll do a Rey celebration in the ring. Judgment Day will attack him, and Edge will come back and make the save. And that'll set up the match for SummerSlam.
Yep. Well,
and the match itself, like I say, the reason Balor was booked better here is because it was a good match with Rey, because it's going to be. But also, he beat him clean. He didn't need outside interference really from Priest. He just, and what I loved about the finish as well is he hit the 1916, goes up top, just points at Dominic Mysterio and was like, "Watch this." Yeah. Does I said the 619 then.
Coup de grace.
Does the coup de grace, and then wins, and is like telling Dom, like, "Look, I've got my hand raised." And I just thought it was really, really good showing for Balor. They need to do more of that.
It's nice to see a heel Balor on the main roster, because he did it really well in NXT. I thought heel Balor.
Yeah,
so it's nice.
And he started getting booked strong, because he's been booked crap, really. Let's be honest. Recently,
he has. So someone they pushed
since like he lost the was it United? Did he have the United States title at one point?
Yeah. That or the IC. I can't remember which one he had, but he had one of them. Yeah.
Since that, yeah, because didn't he lose? He lost it to Theory, didn't he?
Yeah, and that was in the build-up to. I can't remember. So speaking of random tag matches, we got a really random women's match. I don't really know why it happened.
Yeah, another one.
Alexa Bliss and Asuka randomly teamed up and beat Doudrop and Nikki ASH. And nothing really happened after the match, unless I'm forgetting something, but nothing really happened.
I think this was just purely to keep Alexa and Asuka on the show and keep them having some momentum, because Asuka's, I mentioned it last week, she's main evented loads of Raws. Alexa keeps winning, and they probably just thought, let's put them in a match.
There is a Vince quote I always remember saying, everything happens for a reason on TV. So like, there's very rarely
I find that very hard to believe.
Very rarely a segment which doesn't have a plan behind it, or like they almost always further or attempt to further a storyline. There's very rarely a match that happens just for the sake of happening. That's why this one's just felt really off to me, this match.
I agree with you.
The camera stayed in the ring for a bit with Alexa and Asuka. Alexa's going to turn heel here. That's what I thought was going to happen, but nothing happened. So,
I mean, if there was a women's tag division, I would say there would be point to, you could have Alexa Bliss and Asuka team up. Why not? Like, just give them something to do. They could have a tag title, whatever. But there isn't. So there's no point in them as a team. I think it was purely to give them a win on TV after Asuka lost last week, and Alexa's kind of been slowly building up wins. Not really doing anything storyline wise though. No, she feels a bit lost.
She is very lost.
I think she could do a turning heel like she used to be, or something like that. I don't know. Yeah.
So again, on the subject of random tag matches, we're going to move on to another one. When it started with the Usos and the Street Profits having like a little promo in ring.
Yeah. About a special guest referee, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then R-Truth comes down, and I think he said he was like a tag team counselor or something.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I thought, he's going to claim to be the referee. And then, we got Omos come down. And it's fairly random to be in the segment, but Omos doesn't really got much going on at the moment.
No.
So he just got involved here. And it's a bit weird what's seeing Omos with the Usos. That did feel a bit odd to me. I mean, R-Truth with the Prophets is a bit odd, but their characters kind of make a bit of sense, a bit more sense being together. Then we got a 6-man tag in which Omos just dominated, just absolutely annihilated the Prophets.
Yeah.
Got a pin on Dawkins, not on R-Truth as well.
I wrote that on my notes. Why the hell did R-Truth not take the pin in this match? Why did Dawkins take the pin here? You're doing a rematch between Prophets and the Usos. Why is Angelo Dawkins taking the pin? Unless
unless they're building to a breakup.
Yeah, which they might well be. But even so, I don't think they needed to do that here. Bit strange, but yeah, Omos was dominant, wasn't he?
Absolutely
dominant. I thought the match was a bit random and pointless, to be honest. I liked the R-Truth bit-ish, him coming down. I liked him showing off his free count and then his count out bit.
Yeah,
and then when Omos come out, R-Truth said you can't even count to 10. That bit was all fine. But yeah, the match was just there. There was so many matches on this show where it was thrown together tag team matches, which is weird because you didn't get many of them. It's nice to get everyone on the show in a way, like you're using a lot of your people. I like that, but some of them, I guess they're trying to get R-Truth on TV a bit more because he was on TV last week, wasn't he?
At least he's not in the 24/7 division.
Yeah, and I think they're not doing much with the 24/7, and they're kind of going like R-Truth going to do something different. No,
they ran Dana Brooke or Reggie. It's been a long time.
The last time we saw them on the celebration party thing run past for like 1 second, but there's not been much effort put into them segments, and I'm not exactly missing it. So
no, not at all. No.
But obviously that does take quite a few people completely off TV because they don't do anything else with those. There's like 6 people that are just in that division, and that's it. That's all they do. So it's great, and that's why I think it's glad to see R-Truth because R-Truth can be used in the comedy spot anywhere on the card.
Yeah,
you had him in there with Brock Lesnar once, and it was great. Like you can put him anywhere, and he can do something with it. So I think that's a better use of R-Truth than just having him running around for the 24/7 all the time because that's boring.
Do you have any clues on special guest referee?
No. I said the word let's talk about it. I
My guess
an idea
is Sami Zayn.
That would make sense because
that's my guess.
It's the bloodline.
Nothing's pointed to it at all, really. But that's just the only person I can.
But if the Usos want someone that, if it's skewed towards getting you want it to be the heels have the advantage, don't you?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make sense for the Street Profits to pick somebody.
And then you either have Sami Zayn just help the bloodline retain and it will lead to a Profits breakup, or you have Sami Zayn mess up, cost Usos tag belts, and all of a sudden we start a feud with Sami Zayn, turn him face eventually. People feel sorry for him. And we have a Sami Zayn Roman feud, or Sami Zayn the Usos.
My idea was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos down the line. I remember saying that.
Yeah, I think Sami Zayn is one of those ones. We talked about SmackDown's lack of faces. I think he is one they could turn face. I think he is currently in a nice little position, trying to be in with Bloodline, but not quite in with the Bloodline. I think people are enjoying him. I think Sami Zayn could be the next one to turn face.
Maybe.
And this could be a way to do it. I mean,
the storyline kind of sets it up to me, right? Because eventually the Bloodline are going to get fed up with him and either beat him up or do something to him. So
or he's going to cross them on purpose or something. Yeah,
exactly.
To help someone out. Yeah. I mean, I have no other guesses now, and that is just a complete guess based on who might fit storyline wise. But there's been no hints of Sami Zayn at all. He hasn't been involved in any of this, so.
No, I have no idea who it's going to be at the moment. They may do a bit more. There's a couple of weeks yet to build it. I can see him at least. I can see him maybe asking to do it as well on SmackDown.
Yeah.
I don't think he was on SmackDown last week, which is weird.
No, he wasn't. No,
it's very weird. He's not on SmackDown. He's always on SmackDown. But I don't think he was showing. I noticeable absence actually. Then we had the main event. Before the main event, we got Seth Rollins interviewed. He talks about Ezekiel a little bit. talks about Riddle, and then Theory come over. And what I liked again here is it made sense was Theory came to Rollins for advice about cashing in because Rollins has the best cash in of all time. Although someone else might have something to say about that who super kicked him later on. But I do think Rollins is the best cash in of all time. But Dolph Ziggler was one of the best as well. Maybe that's why Ziggler did it. Who knows? It was like, you should have come to me for advice. You know, that could be the reason. Who knows?
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, I know you're going to go into a bit more detail, but I was confused by the ending. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I was just like,
the only reason I liked it
for this
is because it was Dolph Ziggler, who I've been wanting them to do something big with for a while. They're not going to do something too big with him. They always do this. It's Ziggler season where they bring him in, push him for 2 months, and then he loses and then he disappears again.
Yeah.
But still, him being a babyface, this really intrigued me. So the main event was, again, a random tag team match of Riddle and Lashley versus Seth Rollins and Theory.
This was random because Lashley's not in a rivalry with... Well,
he's with Theory. He's having a rematch, isn't he?
Rivalries, yeah.
It's 2 rivalries thrown together to make a tag team. It's fine. But it's just it was a bit random. But yeah, Ziggler come down quite early and then just sat on a chair ringside. The match itself was okay.
Really
there wasn't loads to say about it. There was an awesome counter from Riddle into Bro Mission where Theory was doing like his rolling drop kick.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really good counter, a bit of wrestling from Riddle and Theory. Good. I did notice as well between Lashley and Rollins, there was some really good stuff, and I don't remember them interacting much before as wrestlers.
No, I can't think.
And I was thinking, I wouldn't mind seeing this as a proper match. You know, Rollins versus Lashley at some point, because that felt like a really good match while they were wrestling. And then there was a massive charge, Lashley charging Seth through the barricade. That was cool. And then this is where the finish came when Theory was in the ring. So it was shortly after because Rollins and Lashley just went through the barricade. Theory's in the ring with Riddle. Theory tries pinning Riddle, puts his foot up on the ropes. And I was shocked that Dolph, I thought he was out there to help. I thought he was going to mentor Theory or something like that. I don't know what I was expecting.
I had no idea. I
didn't expect him to turn face. I didn't expect him to turn face here.
So distracted all match. I was like, what's Ziggler doing there? All match.
Because he was dressed in a suit and that as well. I was like, this feels like he's coming down to and then so he pushes Theory's foot off the ropes. Riddle hits the RKO and won. And then Dolph super kicked Theory, who sold it brilliantly, by the way. It was a great super kick and he sold it really well. And then Ziggler just ends with here to show the world playing. And that's what I like to hear. So for me, like I say, it's my WWE top mark. I might have a different one. I have one from AEW, one from WWE this week. So when we do the AEW pod, I might give my other one to that. I'm not sure. The edge to that. But I loved it because it was Ziggler. I think if it was some random, someone else returning from mid-card obscurity that I wasn't a fan of, I probably would have been like, it was all right. But yeah, I loved it because it was Ziggler. I
was just more confused than anything else for this. I'm still... What you said makes the most sense about Ziggler saying, why didn't you come to me? But it just really confused me. One thing we got before the match as well, we got a bit of Lashley and Riddle backstage where it felt a bit like Riddle and Orton a bit, where Lashley's playing the kind of straight-faced guy and Riddle's trying to be funny and asking about the way Riddle spoke to him was like Riddle would speak to Randy, where he was like, Barbie, and then he was on about Stranger Things and asked him if he's watched Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Or do you want to come around and watch Stranger Things tonight? So, I mean, this is what we saw Riddle do it with Pete Dunne in NXT. We saw Riddle do it with Timothy Thatcher in NXT. We've now seen Riddle do it with Randy Orton, and now we're seeing it a little bit with Lashley. And this is just Riddle's very good at playing the silly, childish person next to a really straight-faced baby face.
And he's still doing all of Orton's moves, maybe a little bit overkill. I saw it mentioned actually on Twitter a couple of times this week.
Yeah.
Now that they're overdoing the Orton offense, I don't mind him doing the RKO. Do that. That's fine. But he's doing the DDTs. He's doing the poses. He feels like he's just a Randy Orton tribute act. It felt like he did two halves of the match here. I remember the first bit he was in, he was doing his own moves, like the floating bro and whatever. Then he got a hot tag later on into the match, and it was just like Randy Orton. It was like he was two different wrestlers. It was really weird. I'm intrigued where this goes with Ziggler and Theory. Are they going to have a match for the briefcase? Where does this leave Robert Roode? Is he going to come back as a singles person?
Well, again, the last time we saw Ziggler, he randomly, him and Roode come back on stage, and then they got taken up by Omos, and that was it. Really random, like nothing, no follow up to that at all. So,
no, I'm just intrigued as to where they go with Ziggler and Theory, because obviously Theory's got the briefcase. Are they going to have a match for the briefcase? Is he going to get involved in the United States title picture? For the match at SummerSlam, are they going to make that a triple threat? I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I have no idea. I'm definitely
intrigued. I can't wait to hear what Ziggler has to say about it on Raw next week.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by it because, like I say, I thought his NXT run was really, really good, and I was hoping he was going to come back to the main roster and actually do something relevant, and he's just not. So now I'm happy that he is, at least in the main event sort of scene for the time being. Like I said, it's Ziggler season. It's SummerSlam. He seems to wrestle quite a lot around SummerSlam. Then he'll disappear. Survivor Series, he might pop up or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Should we move on to NXT?
Yeah, let's move on to NXT. Now, I've got quite a lot to say about NXT and the main...
Yeah, so I want to start positively before I get into a lot of funny stuff going on this show, in my opinion. There's a lot of funny stuff going on. But I want to start with a top mark from NXT. And it's the match in general. We got Giovanni Vinci and Apollo Crews. Just had an absolute barnstormer match. The best match in WWE TV this week, in my opinion. This was so good. I loved it. To see Eichner Vinci get a run as a single star is really exciting, I think. And there's a spot in this match where Apollo Crews jumps off the turnbuckle towards Vinci. And Vinci catches him in like a suplex on his side, just held him up. And that's like an impressive spot, regardless. But to do that to someone of Apollo Crews' size, who is jacked to the max, like that is...
I've never seen someone do that spot to someone bigger than them before.
An insane
Apollo Crews is bigger than him,
amount of strength. And they mentioned on commentary that Vinci's like strength is strongest person in NXT. And it made me think of how they spoke about Cesaro before.
I was going to say...
Cesaro would do stuff like this.
So Cesaro did not a similar spot, but he did some similar stuff in the match on Dynamite, which we'll get to on AEW, against Hager, who's obviously bigger as well. And it did make me think actually that Giovanni Vinci reminds me of Cesaro in the way
I think he is their new Cesaro.
Not just because he's bald.
No, but the
not just because he's bald. A bald European man.
The strength he had here, like not
I agree
stuff
with you.
On weekly TV takes my breath away, but that I had to like rewind and watch it a few times. I can't believe he's just done.
He's got the agility as well to go with it.
Yeah,
and
so
and
that
the look and
itself was top mark worthy, but the match itself was brilliant. The only criticism is Zion Quinn getting involved at the end. And
well, this is my question. So Apollo come down to NXT because he kind of lost his momentum on the main roster, and they had him lose. And I said last week, who do they have win here? Because it was a bit of a no-win situation. Like I didn't want Vinci to lose, but I also Apollo, like he's kind of lost his momentum. He's doing random segments backstage. Maybe.
Well, he started coming out off to NXT by interrupting Bron Breakker. That was his introduction back to NXT, and now he's getting distracted by Zion Quinn. It's like a mid card as it is, as you know, it's mid card as it goes on NXT. I mean, I don't know. I think they're doing a whole like underdog story with Apollo Crews. I think that's what they're trying to tell us.
Maybe, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I just don't really.
Although they've still got something explaining to do why he went from having a Nigerian accent to not having.
They'll just ignore that. They're not going to explain that.
They will, yeah.
They never do with dropped accents.
Yeah, poor old Commander Aziz. What's he going to do now?
I don't know. Apparently, he has been drafted back to NXT, but I don't know. I doubt we'll see him. Apparently, yeah. After Apollo they drafted him back, but I think he'll be released. I can't see him.
They don't actually need big guys on NXT. You've actually got a couple now.
Should we talk about one of them? Because I like this guy. Yeah, and we said he would get released when Grayson Waller and him, split like for no reason apparently. But I like Sanga. I think he's got something actually.
I like to use him as a face, by the way. That's one main positive with this, because they very rarely do it with these.
Yeah, it's easy to just make him
big giants. They don't often make them faces.
It's easy to make him like the Omos of NXT, isn't it?
Well, also,
or even like
Veer.
Veer.
We all thought in the build-up Veer was going to be a face because of the hype towards him, and then they'd spawn back as a heel.
Ooh.
Like, just give these guys a run as a face. Omos was a face technically for a little while, but he didn't, not massively. But Sanga's actually shown a bit of character to him, which is quite nice for a big giant. You don't see that often.
Yeah, it was a quick match that he had. There wasn't a lot to say about it, but he beat Duke Hudson, who's another big guy.
It's just Duke Hudson's role, isn't it?
I saw Duke Hudson actually tweeting the other day at Max Dupree saying, "Should I?" And he would actually fit in Maximum Male Models a little bit.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
I don't think he's doing a lot on NXT. So Max Dupree, if you're looking for people, why not? Why not? I say.
He was on the main roster briefly, Duke Hudson.
Yeah, and I just think he's never doing anything in NXT. He just gets beaten all the time. And he's a big guy, and like he should be doing a bit more.
Well, and he's someone they've tried a lot with in NXT, because they had him be like a poker player for a bit, then they had him
with Persia
Pirotta's love interest, and now he's doing nothing. So they've tried a few things with him, and none of it's worked. So we run out of patience with Duke Hudson, I think. But he has a role because he's here to lose to Sanga.
Yeah.
And speaking of giants, while we're on the NXT Giant Brigade, Von Wagner had a match with Solo Sikoa. And they brawled all night.
Yeah,
these two all night they were brawling. I don't remember what happened last week. I know they obviously had a confrontation last week. I don't really remember getting why this was so heated this week, but they just seem to be brawling all over the place.
I like the match ended very quickly, but I didn't mind because of the stuff they did afterwards. Pull apart brawl, and I loved Solo Sikoa throwing Mr. Stone into the trash.
What about the garbage bin being branded in NXT merch? Seemed a bit weird.
I didn't really. I wasn't.
It had like an NXT banner on it, and I was like, are they putting banners around their like trash bins in the car park? It seems a bit random.
I honestly didn't notice.
Random thing I noticed.
That's funny.
Yeah, threw Mr. Stone in there. Sophia Cromwell tried to. No, she did. She did calm down Paul Magna, didn't she? Again, seems to be the one person who can calm him down. Again, we haven't seen much of Sophia. Well, we haven't seen her at all actually in ring, but
no, we haven't seen her at all.
I haven't really heard her talk, have we? Again, I didn't know her name.
She said a couple of lines here and there, but
yeah,
Mr. Stone does most of it. She's just there pointing usually, and weird stuff. I don't really get what her character is or why she's there. They've never really explained it.
No, they've never explained why she's there. And Von Wagner, I mean, for the guy who the first NXT 2.0 they pushed into the main event, he's just
a bit bland, isn't he?
Regressed, and I think he's not a bad position right now. I don't mind him currently. He is boring. Okay. He is boring. Like, he doesn't do much. I don't really have he's just a big guy. He's just your generic heel giant. Like I just mentioned, all these generic heel giants they have. He's just another one.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Commander Aziz in NXT wouldn't work, because there's three we've just mentioned, three giants we've just mentioned. I just don't think he would work. I don't think he'd offer anything different, put it that way, than what.
No, I don't. Should we talk about Schism?
Schism.
Yeah, that's Joe Gacy's group's name now. Did you not see that?
Oh, I must have missed that.
So when Joe Gacy started talking, a graphic come up and it said Schism. I was like,
I must have missed
Schism.
That.
And then he actually said Schism by name. He's like, the Schism, blood, and he was doing his rambly promos. But the thing that was interesting was finally, and they teased it once before, but he did say they will reveal, they're confident enough to reveal themselves next week. So we're finally getting a reveal of who these guys are.
No idea who these are.
And I think I'm probably not going to.
But we do know them, don't we? We do know them because they
said they were champions.
They said gold before, yeah.
Which made me intrigued.
Unless it's two people we don't know, which I don't. It obviously can't be. Then I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea who these are.
No, I don't, and I'm not sure if I care or not, because
it depends who it is.
It does depend who it is, and I don't like the Joe Gacy character, so it's not. Even if it's people I like, am I going to like them now? Like, it's difficult. But yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, Diamond Mine, watching them match back, and then Roderick Strong, Blair, Damon Kemp for their loss. They're going to have a 1-on-1 match next week. So they're dragging this
really prolonging this Strong falling out. I guess Kemp's the last one to lose his patience with Strong, and I think that'll probably happen next week. I think Strong will probably to win or something. Yeah,
and then that'll probably be where he either turns on them or they kick him out or something. And speaking of Diamond Mine as well, we had Tatum Paxley versus Kevin Carter in a really short match. But the interesting thing here was that Tatum Paxley was being coached by Ivy Nile from the side, and when she listened to her, she won.
Well, this is interesting because they kind of early days of Diamond Mine, they had Tatum Paxley kind of trying to get in Diamond Mine with Ivy Nile, and then they dropped it for like a couple of months, and now they've come back to it. But it's interesting they completely.
They need more women's tag team, so I'm happy to have them together.
I've got nothing.
They did. Kaden Carter lost quite quickly here, which was a bit of a shame because I like that team. But what else was there in between the main sort of before we get to the main event?
Well, there's a match which was a trainer of a wrestler match, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, but Indy Hartwell and Lash Legend had a shocker, didn't they?
I don't want to. I never like to go in on people, but I don't think I've seen Lash Legend have a good match yet.
No, but the finish here, Indy Hartwell
slips,
tried whatever she tried, was an absolute, just got it all wrong. And you don't see it very often on NXT or on any WWE TV to get a move that wrong. And then she rolled her up for the free count.
The only good thing about this was Alba Fire's back, and Alba Fire is awesome.
Alba Fire will probably get a good match out of Lash Legend because
I think because they had one previously, didn't they? But it went to DQ very quickly.
Yeah.
But I liked the bit before where Lash did cut a good promo, I thought, before the match where she was bouncing the basketball. And I like the shot of. No, she's got charisma. She's just I'm not sure about her wrestling yet. But her the ball bounces and then goes on the floor, and you just see the bat of Alba Fire. So I like that teaser. And I thought that was good. But yeah, the rest of it was crap. And then Alba Fire was swinging a bat at her afterwards. Didn't hit her, but
this was a terrible wrestling match.
We had Cameron Grimes come out. And it looks like setting up a little bit of a mini feud with JD McDonough before I'm guessing JD will move on to Bron because he took Bron out last week. Cameron Grimes is always a great promo. He says he's not the Irish ace, he's the Irish arsehole. Yeah. And then JD McDonough attacks him but retreated quite quickly, didn't he? Cameron Grimes had a little bit of a slip up here, but he covered it well because he said he called Bron, nearly called him. He said North America, and it was like NXT champion. And he's like, "Don't worry, because he had that title as well." He was like, "That title's still on my mind as well."
Yeah,
which I thought he covered really well. Actually,
at least to recover it. Yeah, and
that was a really good recovery.
Yeah,
that was a really good recovery. I'm sure it was a slip up, but it was
I think recovery. It was. I mean, Cameron Grimes is brilliant.
He's very good, and I like the way he's
maybe my favorite NXT act right now. Cameron Grimes, I love him. I think he's just so good.
He's up there. He's up there for me as well. I'm
excited to see what JD McDonough can do in NXT. I'm really intrigued as to how big they go with him. I mean, obviously they push him in the title picture straight away. But how? Yeah. Is it just a temporary match and then he move back down to mid card, or are they going to keep him at the top of NXT and make him camp or whatever they do with him? But I'm very intrigued by JD McDonough.
Yeah, me too. There's a couple of other little segments went there throughout the show. He's pretty deadly turned up at the bar that Briggs and Jensen were in. Fallon Henley waved a Paul at him and said, "Let's sort this in the ring next week." You had Carmelo and Trick celebrating their wins last week in a pool.
You had Grayson Waller, Blaine Wesley. That's going to be a match we have.
Yeah. Tiffany Stratton doing a promo on Wendy. And then you also had a match between Idris Enofe and Malik Blade versus Tony D and Stax. Tony D got the win. Cruz and Joaquin afterwards were ordered by Tony to beat them up. They were reluctant, but they did it. So they're carrying that storyline on. There's so many segments in NXT. But you can't talk about them all in detail. You just kind of go through them and say, oh, this one was all right. But all of that stuff was all like fine. There was nothing great there. There was an Axiom video package, and he's got a mask now as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, put him behind a mask. I mean, it goes with
I actually don't mind
style. That. His wrestling style does work with a mask. I think he's very like luchador.
I don't mind him being like a mysterious character, like.
But we have seen his face. But again, if he wears a mask for 10 years, we'll all forget his face quite quickly. So
yeah,
it's not and he's hardly a big enough star.
So shall we talk about the main talking point from NXT, because this is the big stuff really. So we got no, we didn't get a new champion. We had Roxanne beaten. So it's the NXT starts with Roxanne Perez being injured in the car park, which is an angle they do probably once every 2 months in NXT. It's done too often for a start.
NXT
the car park is ridiculous. Yeah. They always do this thing as well, where they go throughout the show blaming all these different people. They even asked Elektra Lopez about it. It's like, it's clearly not her. Come on. And they ruined this angle, in my opinion, straight away. I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but they rushed it. Why? They literally won the tag belts last week. They had the attack here. I don't even mind them doing the attack here. That's fine. But why is the attacker revealed now? Why couldn't it have been Cora Jade takes Raquel's place? Not Raquel. Roxanne's place. And then weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks down the line, you build this, and then it gets revealed that Cora Jade was behind it all along. I just thought it was stupid to waste it all in one go.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part of this was the skateboard break-in as she tried to hit.
And it didn't even look
so funny. Honestly, I watched that back a few times and I had a little chuckle to myself. Did enjoy that bit. I mean, do I think it's rushed? I mean, definitely is a bit rushed to do it like this.
I thought it was crazy to do it.
I'm assuming what I think they might be doing here, by the way, is I think they might be trying to get rid of the tag belts in NXT as well. And they've put it on a team that are about to break up to then be like, oh well, Cora Jade's going to be like, oh, I don't want these tag belts or something.
Even if that's the case, Roxanne and Cora Jade's story of being friends has been told over about a month.
Yeah,
it's not a 6-7 month storyline or a couple of years storyline. Like if you did it with Katana and Kaden, they've been tag team for ages. You put the titles on them, and then you build it over a couple of months when they've got the titles. Maybe one of them is not trusting the other one or something, and then something happens and it's revealed. That would be good. But to go right, we'll rush them as friends. We only got introduced to them as friends a couple of weeks ago. Win the titles straight away. Attack, break up, within a month. I just think that is crazy to rush it. And I didn't see the point in Roxanne coming out and fighting here. I would have rather her just not.
Yeah.
And Cora then, because she attacks her, that was her plan all along, was to take her place. She doesn't win the title. She doesn't have to win the title. You could even have her win the title to make it even more interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the match wasn't that good because Roxanne was had to be completely injured.
She just had an injury.
It was basically Mandy she did do there was some all right bits in it, but most of it was just Mandy beating up Roxanne. There was a nice pop rocks on the outside, but Gigi and Jason were getting involved as well. But yeah, for me it was a bit, and I'm not sure about. I think Cora Jade could work as a heel.
Well, so this is not one caveat. Is I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Cora Jade as a heel. I think it could work. I think towards the end, I think she looked like evil enough that I think she might actually be better off as a heel than a face. I think it might work. Again, let's see what they do. This is a wait and see one, but I'm intrigued by Cora Jade as a heel, definitely.
Yeah, I think she gave me at the end with the facial expressions, the way she looks and the way she is. She gave me Paige vibes when Paige was like a really good heel.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what she reminded me of, or even a little bit AJ Lee. I know she gets compared to those two people anyway, but they were, Paige was more remembered maybe as a heel, as a wrestler than a face. But that's kind of what it reminded me of. But yeah, for me, it's just I like the fact they turned it, because I said a couple of weeks ago I think they're thinking about it, But I didn't expect it straight this soon. I thought maybe at least wait a month or two, even longer. I would, but at least a couple of months. Like have them have the run with the titles, lose the titles, have Roxanne maybe take the pin. So Cora's like, already got an eye on like, I want to split away from her. But Roxanne's still got that contract. Then Roxanne says she's going to cash in the contract. You can have Cora then take that away from her. Yeah. Almost, rather than just all of it in one go. I just thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm not as down on yours, I don't think. I think it is rushed, but I'm not that upset by their decision here. I think it's fine. It's all about the follow-up. This was fine. The follow-up needs to be good. It looks like we're getting Nikita Lyons next to Mandy Rose as well. So we've got a new, and this is what NXT have done well, yeah. So they've already set up Mandy Rose's next challenger, Nikita Lyons. They've now set up a feud between Cora Jade and Roxanne. Yeah. We've also got Alba Fire and Lash Legend. We've also got
they use a lot of women.
Tiffany Stratton. Yeah. They've got a lot of women, and we've got stuff going on with Tatum Paxley and Ivy now. They've just got a lot of. They use their women's division very well in NXT.
They do, yeah. I'll give.
There's main roster. There's like one women's feud at a time, even or AW. There's
on Raw, I think it's not too bad. There's normally a couple.
There's never 4 or 5 at a time.
No, not as many as in NXT, and in AEW there's never that many. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think that is a good thing that they've done this and actually kept the title away from these two, which I don't mind. If they're going to have these two have a blood feud, which they kind of is now, then maybe you don't want the belt near that, because maybe they're both not ready for a belt yet. They're both quite young.
The thing is with NXT, once you lose the belt, there's not a lot else for you to do. You normally get called up, and I think you don't want to rush it. I think maybe have them. I've said this before, but having them down the line win the titles. It's like Braun. That's the problem with Braun. Like when he loses the title, he's been to the top. What's he going to do? But I think with Braun, he's had quite a long title reign. He'll have quite a long reign. And
I think the only reason Mandy Rose has had such a long run is because there's just been no one who is ready to beat her yet.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you could argue Dakota Kai when she had her chance.
I think Alba Fire should be the one, but
yeah, maybe she should, but they're gonna long play that.
Yeah.
Nikita Lyons, you could argue Nikita Lyons could beat her for it.
I think they like her a lot, so maybe.
For me, Nikita Lyons isn't the one to win the NXT Women's title.
I think
Alba Fire is the one. I
think she makes more sense because she's much more experienced as a wrestler and is top, like really, really good in the ring. I think that's so important with the championship.
Especially on a roster with a lot of inexperienced people.
Exactly. Yeah, she can have good matches.
Champs have to be good in ring. Have to be. So yeah.
I think that's it from NXT. So
that's
it for the WWE podcast for this week. Like I say, follow us on Twitter at Recharge Wrestle, and on our YouTube channel, Recharge Wrestling. Like and subscribe there. Check out all of our content, all of our podcasts, all of our other stuff. AEW podcast to come. If you're watching this one, go over and watch that one. It'll be up shortly after, probably. Well, maybe a few hours. I don't know. But go check that out. We've got pay-per-views coming up. We'll have predictions and all that coming up for SummerSlam in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to that. We've got plenty of stuff going on, content and stuff. So yeah, see you next time.
Cool. See you guys.